Hey, I'm Kat. Welcome to the channel and a new video. So over the course of the next few months, we are participating in the hardest reading challenge you've ever done. It will be linked down below, but it is a deceptively hard reading challenge where I will pop up the bingo board. It doesn't look too bad, but each prompt corresponds to reading like upwards of 10 books. It is very difficult. It is brilliant and so much fun. I'm honestly having the best time ever. But I decided to challenge myself and not only do this readathon, but also try to film videos for as many of these prompts as I can. And today we are doing the series Stairway, which is we have to read a standalone, a duology, a trilogy, and then either a 4-book series or 4 books within a larger series. So we are really, pushing ourselves in this one. We're just getting through all of the series and I could not be more excited. I'm not great at finishing series. I tend to just, hold on to them and take my ever-loving sweet time with them. So having a challenge where I'm actually going to have to finish them, going to be amazing. So basically with this, hi, welcome to the video. We're going to be doing this. I have not picked out my books yet. I have vague ideas, but not concrete plans. And we're just going to dive right into the reading. So once I decide what I am starting for my standalone book, I will come back, I will update you, and then we will go from there. So welcome to the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and let's just start reading. So I haven't really decided how I'm going to come in and update on these. Like, should I do per individual book? Should I do midway updates through the books? Should I just come in and update on the series as a whole? I don't know, because partially I feel like it'd be more interesting to do book by book updates instead of series. But then we run the risk of this video being like 2 hours long, which by the time you're seeing it, you will see how this goes. But I am coming in when the first book is done. So our standalone book is done. Kind of didn't really feel like doing any updates, and I guess we will see as we go on how much we have to discuss in I don't know. I really don't know how we're going to be formatting this video is basically what I'm saying right now, and you will eventually see. So the book I did decide to do for the standalone book is The Bookshop Below by Georgia Summers, I believe her name is. She wrote one that I enjoyed a few years ago, which, as always, every time I go to look on my shelves, who knows? I don't know where anything is on these shelves. Also, so many things are blocked by my gym bag, so who knows if it's in there. Maybe I'll pop it in. But she did read one that wrote one that I enjoyed a decent amount. And I was pretty excited to go into this, just, an author I've already felt comfortable with. Let's see what they have to say. Let's see how they go into the next book. But to be very honest, very instantly disappointed in this one. And one that I probably should have DNF'd. But by the time I kind of got to that point, it was reading so quickly that I didn't want to put it down, go find a different standalone, and, restart my reading towards this video. So maybe that kind of gives you the hint that I did not enjoy this a significant amount. In fact, we are giving it a 2 stars. The main issue I had with this one, very little world building, very little interesting plot, and everything was confusing. So basically we're following a woman who inherits this mystical bookshop. They seem very well established in this world, perhaps not to the general public, but those who are in on this idea of magical bookshops are well aware of it. And the guardian of this bookshop basically appeases the magical books inside and keeps things running smoothly. But she is somebody who previously had been apprenticed to this owner. It's been many years that she's been fallen out, and a lot of people are very upset with her coming in to take over the bookshop. And that's kind of where it goes. Her previous mentor had been murdered, and there's an investigation into why/how he got murdered. And that's about it. Really nothing interesting happened. Nothing of note, nothing that stood out, nothing that I feel very strongly one way or another about. So, ultimately this is a 2 star for me. it didn't do anything. Didn't do anything new, didn't do anything inventive, didn't do anything that captured my interest. And yeah, that's ultimately just the main issue I had with it. Nothing seemed to happen. So, you know, we are truly starting this video off on the best possible way. Of course, just really setting ourselves off for a great reading time. Who knows? Hopefully. But at least we have one done, because there's what, 10 books we need to read in this video. And again, I really don't know how I am planning on structuring this, so I guess you'll see with my duology when I come in and have finished that, which I think I'm hoping this works. But The Perfect Marriage and The Perfect Divorce by Geneva Rose, I don't think there's any other books coming out in that, so I'm hoping that those could potentially work. I'm also trying to look at books that might be relatively quick to read, so that this isn't like, you know, 90 years for me to film, though I know my quartet is going to be quite lengthy if I go with what I'm planning. So I'm trying to think, like, do the other books in a fairly quick way, hopefully. We'll see. But yeah, basically all of this just to say, book one's done. It was a disappointment, and now we're on to a duology. So I guess I kind of decided that we're just going to come in here and update every time I finish a book, because yeah, I guess that's just how I want to structure this video. But for our duology, we are reading 2 thriller books by Geneva Rose. So The Perfect Marriage and The Perfect Divorce. And let's now first start with The Perfect Marriage, which I just finished reading. And as it is a thriller, we're not gonna dive into too many details, but just kind of an overview of what happens in this book. So we are following a couple at the center. They are married. On the outside, it seems like they are perfectly happy, but the husband in this marriage has been having an affair for quite some time. And one day he is at his lake house with his mistress and gets up in the middle of the night and decides to head back into town to see his wife, because he's made this decision that he's going to leave his wife for the mistress. Leaves her this weird note about how he's made his decision and he's happy with how their story will end, some kind of thing. Goes in to see his wife. They reunite, and he's like, wait, no, my wife, she is the one. I will stay with her. He's just very mixed up in his brain. But the next morning, he ends up getting arrested because his mistress has been found in this lake house that they owned, stabbed to death. And he, being the last person to see her, the man she's having an affair with, and the owner of the house, all these things, immediately it is presumed that he is the one who killed her. And then we are following the trial where he is being accused of the murder, and his wife, who, even though she just found out about this affair, she is a criminal defense attorney and decides to come in and represent him on the case. And yeah, the book is basically trying to unravel this mystery of who actually killed this woman. There's tons of little things that are hinting at other people who are involved. Because this woman, she was married, potentially to an abusive husband. There might have been a third man in play. There was potentially a man who was stalking her at the cafe she worked in. She also had changed her identity at one point, and there was people from her past who might have tried to come in and kill her. So just a lot of things like that. And I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I don't think the writing was fantastic. I think that it definitely kind of veered into Frida McFadden lane, which I do think that she's a terrible writer, and I think this was slightly elevated from that, but definitely simplistic. And I think that the ending was a little bit stupid, a little bit predictable. I definitely did see it coming, but the 4 stars is coming from the fact that I was 100% entertained the entire way through. And even if, I could kind of guess where a story's going or what was going to happen, if it entertained me and I was excited to keep picking this up, it's kind of what I want in a thriller. I tend to think of them more as popcorn reads, where I don't necessarily need the most well thought out, insane mystery of all time with the most shocking turns ever. If a thriller just keeps me captivated and interested and just intensely turning the page, it usually ends up being pretty well rated for me. That's really all I need. So I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot. Didn't really like any of the characters, but still really enjoyed it. And now, so now that one's done, we are going to be getting into book 2 of this duology, which is called The Perfect Divorce. And it takes place about, I don't know, 15 years, 12, 15 years after the events of book 1. Really excited to get to this one. I looked a little on the premise, and it is going in an interesting route, and I might not have as much to say about it because this potentially could spoil things that happen in book 1. But I am excited, and yeah, I'm going to pick that up now. And guess what? We're done our duology. So I finished The Perfect Divorce. I will say kind of led on or ended in a way that there definitely could be another book in this series at some point. But I am going to say it's completed because I do not want to find another duology I need to read. Very similar thoughts to book 1 in that it went in a route that I felt was very predictable. Very much I could kind of tell exactly like who was doing a lot of things, and none of that surprised me. It was just more of at the end when kind of seeing how things were done. I guess that was more of the fun point. Like, it really didn't have surprises, didn't really have that many twists that were unpredictable, but it was still like a fun, like thrilling time, and just really kind of interesting to see like the whole mystery unravel and all of that. So one that, like, again, even though I don't necessarily feel like it was that inventive, I don't feel like it was that like shocking or there was like that much that was wild that happened within it, I still think it was pretty fun, and I definitely can't fault a book for that, for just being like a very fun thriller. So once again, I'm gonna give this one 4 stars. And it just like, yeah, very entertaining for sure. That's like very much what we can say about it. So with that makes us done our duology. Okay, so while I did say that I was only going to come in and update like at the end of every book, for this one we're just going to quickly do an intro and kind of discuss the series as a whole, and then we're going to go in and discuss all the books, because starting off this series, I have a very good sense of where it's going. And I do have to say, I think part of that is because I have read one thing from this author before, aka one trilogy. And I low-key feel like I am reading the exact same thing over, just like mildly different, but very much the same thing. And I will say, start off, that is not an issue for me. I do not mind like this repeat. I'm picking it up because I enjoyed it. And in this one, primarily, it is a wide shoes shifter romance. The other series I read by this author, exact same thing. And in this one, we are following a wolf shifter who is on the run, and on the run from a very abusive father. And she tends to go to different towns, stay a little bit, work as like a waitress or something, and live under a fake name until she feels like she needs to move on. So she's been in this one town for a little bit, been there for about a month or 2, and working as a waitress at this one bar, and also training at like an MMA gym. And she's been feeling relatively safe up to this point because it seemed like there really weren't that many other shifters around until this one pack that had been on a mission somewhere, I guess. That's what we're learning from them. It seems like they're kind of mercenaries. They had been gone and then came back, and she is now running into all of them and suddenly having this feeling of maybe this town isn't so safe, but also why am I so intensely drawn to all of these men when I know I should not be? So that's kind of just very briefly where it is. I think the pack has 4 or 5 members, and then our female love interest. And very briefly, this is exactly what the plot is going to be. It is going to be her slowly falling for all of these guys, them falling back. There's some of them who you can tell are very like, no, I could never be in love, blah, blah, blah. I am too toxic of a man to ever love anyone. And she's very hesitant because she's been burned before, like, and feels very unsafe around a lot of men. And I can guarantee something is going to happen. Her father's going to find her. It's going to be a huge all-out fight. There's like... Well, it's safe to say I have been very, very bad at updating in here. So not only have I finished this entire trilogy we were talking about, it has been well over a month since I last did. And I kind of finally came back to this vlog because, you know, just as usual, wasn't sure if I was going to continue on this channel. And I was like, okay, I have several videos mostly filmed. Let's do it. But coming back to update, I was like, oh God, yeah, never talked about these. And I think that we're going to have incredibly unsatisfactory reviews right now, other than the fact that I did really enjoy this series as a whole. I like Tessa Hale as an author, and she does like wide shoes shifter romances very, very well. That being said, I feel like, based on the fact that I've read one other series from her, it feels very predictable, the route that her books are going to go down. And even like the character reveals, the relationships, everything that was present in it felt very, very guessable and like not a surprise, and just very, I don't know, it was very predictable. And that is just the way we're going to go. And even when it came down to relationship dynamics and just the way our alpha males were like introduced to our female main character, and just this reluctance that they had to accept that she was her mate, or she was their mate, and then she as well very reluctant to admit she had mates, and there was this journey she had to go on of accepting them and then accepting herself and fighting this evil overlord. Very predictable, very much like, I feel like from the first reveal in this book, I knew exactly what was going to happen. But again, when we say that, I still enjoyed it. I knew what was going to happen and went in feeling very, very okay with that. So kind of take the review with that of like, I know exactly what this story is, and that is why I continue reading them. So overall, I think each book was a 4-star for me. The last book did kind of have a few plot points. So I was like, oh God, like this is so stupid. This is just really dragging for absolutely no reason. But aside from that, like it was good, enjoyable, predictable, but I knew exactly what I was going in for. And I feel like it's kind of this way, like thrillers can be like this. I go in, I know 100% what I'm going to get. Hands down, like I know every single plot point we're going to get. I have no issues with it. I still know I'm going to have fun, and maybe I can predict the reveal. Doesn't matter. Still know I'm going to enjoy it. So yeah, each one of these was 4 stars. And with that, our trilogy is done. So now we're going to go into our 4 books. So this is either a quartet, I guess, or 4 books in a larger series. And I have really, really been going back and forth on what I think would be worth it for this one. I'm still not decided because I've really wanted to reread the Kate Daniels series by Ione Andrews, and this could be a very good starting point for that. Read the first 4 books. But also I do have the Rainwood Chronicles by Robin Hobb on my TBR. Like, not just my TBR, my physical TBR, which is very dwindling. I have like 8 books left on it, and that would knock out a few of them. So there's like, I have all those ready I have them all bought on Audible. So that could be a very easy way to kind of go, is to knock off those ones. But that being said, I know that those are going to be much longer reads than the Kate Daniels ones, which in the past I've read like 1 a day when I'm getting into the series. So I really don't know what way I'm going to go yet. I guess I'll come back and update you guys once I've made a decision. But yeah, either way, we're going to be reading 4 more books within a series next. All right, so I may have made a slightly controversial decision, and I decided to do the Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb for this series that I'm doing. 4 books in it, it's a little quartet, and honestly, part of it is that I did have a goal last year that I was going to read this entire Robin Hobb universe within 1 year, and I obviously failed that. And now I just want to kind of keep some momentum going and finishing this off. I just want to, yeah, like finish her entire world because I do enjoy it. And I'm really, really bad at finishing series, which we might have a series of videos at some point where I'm addressing that. But the hope is that, you know, this video will force me to actually focus on it. And I've been listening to the audio and I'm about, I think, a little under halfway through right now. So basically, Rob and Hobb World, it is separated into, I think, 5 series. Every second series, so first, third, and fifth, follows this one character, Fitz, and his life in this duchies. He is basically a royal assassin because he was born a bastard to the heir to the throne, and the king basically decided like bastards can be a risk to this world. They can be a risk to basically the inheritance. So we're going to make you reliant on us. We're going to make you basically our puppet. We are going to dictate the terms of your life. And he ends up going on to become a royal assassin. So that was series 1. Series 2 follows these magical ships, and it is one of the favorite like fantasy series I've ever read. It's a trilogy about just this family of traders and these magical ships. And that was in a separate part of the world than series 1. Series 3 is following Fitz again. Series 4, Rainwild Chronicles. We are back in the same part of the world as the live ship traders, which is the magic one that I love, but following different characters. And this one is focused on dragons. So same general world, but we're just following it like years later as there's been developments in the magic of this world and developments in basically just how people live. And dragons have reemerged, which is something that had not happened. So we are following several new characters. Some of them are people who are very, very entrenched in this dragon world and very entrenched in basically making sure that dragons survive because they have reappeared, but they kind of are not able to function on their own because they've lost most of their dragon instincts through many, many years of not existing. And we have quite a few people who are focused on trying to keep them alive. Then we have, so we're following like a few different perspectives. One of them is also a merchant's wife who her entire goal in life has essentially been that she wants to study dragons. She wants to go to this one place, and everything she has ever basically wanted in her life is to go study them. And she's finally at a point right now where she's able to go. So we're following like a few different characters. There's somebody who is indebted to work for the dragons. We're following like a few people very involved in this dragon life, I guess, like just really focused on keeping them alive. And it's interesting. I do think I'm a little bit less into this one than I was the live ship traders trilogy. And I don't know if it's just because I'm literally only on book 1 of a 4-book series, and I just haven't had enough time to really get invested in these characters, because that is one thing with Robin Hobb, is that she is a character writer, I find. And like, she does have these large plots, but so much of the focus of her books is getting you deeply in love with these characters and then absolutely shattering your heart. So I'm just so ready for that. And otherwise, yeah, that's just kind of where we are right now. I think a little bit under halfway through it, but we're just plugging along, and hopefully I will continue enjoying it. I definitely think that I maybe was fading interest a little bit in some of it because there was parts like while I was at work, I was maybe not 100% invested with what I was listening to, kept getting distracted. That was definitely to my detriment, but hopefully going forward, I'll be able to focus a little bit more and we'll actually get some more of this book accomplished and feel better about it. So I think for the next 4 books, we're going to be coming in midway and endway through to update things, unless there's something like really juicy I need to talk about. I decided to restart The Dragon Keeper, and I think that was the best decision I have ever made in my life, because I do think it was close to 50% that I was into it. I don't think I was paying enough attention to it when I started, and I think that was a major disservice to this book because I missed out on so many things. And in particular, like when I was kind of talking about it before, what I was feeling, there was only one perspective that was standing out to me, and that one, very interesting. I do think it's still my favorite, but I missed so many other things that were happening. And yeah, I am beyond happy that I've actually made myself sit down and restart this, because I am now addicted to this book. I don't know what I was missing the first time around, but this is so good. So let me first off say, if you are on your Robin Hobb journey and you have not gotten to this point, or if you have not read The Live Ship Traders, please skip the rest of this video. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm going to not get into too many spoilers or details, but at least for this first book in the series, we're going to talk a bit about the plot. And there, that's your warning. Leave if you're not ready. We are following in this book basically the emergence of dragons in this world. Previously, dragons had existed, but it had been several hundred years since they'd really been present in the world because of a variety of reasons. And after events that happened in some of the previous series, dragons are back, and they are maybe not doing as well as we had hoped. So a lot of dragons kind of came back because they go through this shifting process, and a lot of them unfortunately came out a little malformed, maladapted, and a little bit not quite the way they should have. So these dragons that now exist aren't able to fully fend for themselves, and unfortunately do now need to rely on humans. So there's a lot of following these dragons as they come to be, and now starting to follow this decision behind the scenes of what we're going to do with these dragons and what these humans want to do with them. So we have that. And then we have a woman who was born into a woman who's in a very unhappy marriage. She is a scholar. Her life's work has been devoted to dragons, and she is just in a very, very toxic marriage where she's basically cast aside and treated terribly and fully ignored by her husband. And she is trying to find her way to see dragons because it is her life goal to eventually study them in person. Then we have a young girl who lives within this one area of the world called the Rain Wilds, and basically the people who live there, they end up being slightly disfigured by the magic of this world. And she's somebody who had such a disfigurement that typically the elders of this world would have condemned her to death, but her father, because he couldn't kill his child, ended up bringing her back, and now she's been treated her entire life like she should not exist. But she's getting to this point in her life where she's finally ready to go off on her own adventure. And those are kind of our two main characters we are following. We're also following one of the dragons and her perspective on basically where all the dragons are right now and where she thinks they actually should be. And it is fascinating. I am deeply, deeply loving this. Genuinely, this could be one of my favorite Robin Hobb series. I love Live Ship Traders, and this takes place in the same area of the world as that, and it is just giving me the most fantastic feeling ever. I could not be more happy to be reading this series now. So restarting it was the best decision I have ever made in my life. So I feel so many Robin Hobb readers can be divided either into those who are really, really invested in Fitz as a character, or those who really like Live Ship Traders / Rain Wild Chronicles. And I 100% coming out of this book have very, very clearly been inserted in Camp 2. Because guess who loved this book? This is 5 stars, and I'm feeling very hopeful that we may come out with a entire 5-star series. Again, only reading book 1. I'm already in my brain, I'm yep, the next 3 books that we read are also all going to be 5 stars. We are going to have the best time ever, and I'm just beyond excited. just Robin Hobb, she is so fantastic at one, obviously these magical fantastical worlds with crazy interesting magic happening and all of these things. Also, her character work is truly like unmatched, because you get characters who you wholeheartedly feel like everything for, who you are rooting so intensely for. And I am just always truly impressed with just how she makes me feel for everything that is happening in this world. And seeing in this one too, how we are dealing with dragons, but dragons who have not come out the way they're expected to, dragons who come out kind of like stunted in growth and not fully able to use their bodies as dragons are supposed to, and seeing basically this complete disappointment from humans. And then I would say like, well, disappointment, disinterest, kind of ignoring, and then comes to this conclusion of, we need to get the dragons out of sight because they're just depressing us. Let's send them off to this other area. And just seeing this progression of how the humans are dealing with them, while we also see the dragons, we get perspectives from them, and seeing in their minds as well, they recognize that they are not physically what dragons should be, and seeing their sadness at that and their disappointment at how everything played out for them. Really good, really sad, really good though. And yeah, I just again felt so much for these characters. All of them are so multifaceted, and all of them have like, they do terrible things, but like they can be great people but do shitty things, and it's just so realistic of real people, and you just truly feel everything for them on these journeys. I think my only complaint maybe is I do think the pacing was perhaps a little weird, and in my mind also I felt like the book ended a little more abruptly than it should have, but it is also intended that book 2 immediately picks up the action, because I did read the first chapter of that one. But yeah, in that it's like almost book 1 and book 2 have to be viewed as like true continuation that way. Yeah, I love Robin Hobb. This was fantastic. 5 stars. I'm really happy with it. Okay, so I'm about like 30% into Dragon Haven so far, and the action in this book is starting off like basically immediately where things ended in book 1. Like I think the first chapter is literally like a direct continuation of something that happened. And in this book, the primary thing that is happening is we are following these dragons and their keepers / a few hunters and academics with them, who are traveling through the Rain Wilds and basically going into uncharted land, or previously charted but not in recent memory, to try and find a mystical city that everybody thinks might protect these dragons, or that there might be unseen riches or something there that could be very beneficial to keeping these dragons alive. And yeah, that's really where we are, is we are just following. So there's like, the plot itself is so far just very minute details of moving along this riverbank and moving along this river. The plot is not super exciting at the moment. And again, that does not bother me. With Robin Hobb, so much of what I'm here for is a lot of the character work. And yes, I do, again, like I find this magic system to be like one of the most fascinating things ever. Just in general, this entire world that we are with the Rain Wilds, so interesting, and these dragons, so interesting. But what keeps me interested is usually always her character work. And I would say like we're following multiple characters, but the 2 that are stand out for me, and I think I mentioned them before, there is a young girl who is one of these dragon keepers, and then a married woman who is an academic and had her borderline abusive husband, I would say he's abusive, agree to let her do an academic study of these dragons, and then while there gets hired on to accompany these dragons on their journey and study them along the way. So I think that they are kind of the 2 main people we're following, and also I guess like the 2 most interesting in my opinion. And we're just really following like so many details of how they are feeling with what's happening, how they are feeling about these dragons, how they're feeling about like the other keepers, the other sailors, the other like people around. And I'm just genuinely finding these interpersonal relationships to be so wonderful to follow. And it's like such a small thing, but just seeing the way that all these interactions are happening, seeing the way that both of these women are starting to find their own ground to stand on in this world. They're finding their own paths. And they're both people who have like to this point really, I would say like slightly passed over in life or never really had their own opportunities to shine in certain ways, never had their own freedom. And now going on this adventure is what is finally getting them to experience so many things. It is wonderful. Like it is really, really fantastic to follow and I am enjoying it. Only thing I'll say, slightly boring so far. Again, like there's not really much happening with the plot. It doesn't necessarily bother me, but I will just mention that. And yeah, I am very happy just if we're just following this journey slowly as it goes and like the slight troubles that come along with it. I'm fine with that. Yeah, just not like the most exciting book ever. I finished Dragon Haven and I love this one. We are giving it another 5 stars. We are really, really doing well in this series. Robin Hobb and just this one part of her world really works for me. Again, like I don't know if I have too much else to say aside from what I was kind of talking about at the beginning is I just really like the character development in this and we are seeing some like wild just in the sense of like wild character growth for a lot of our people and really seeing them like find their own independence and kind of like shake off these like prisons that have kind of been set on them their whole lives. So it's really interesting just seeing that. We're following dragons who were hatched and sickly and in such terrible condition and now they are also coming into their own. They have finally had the opportunity to like just eat endless amounts of food, to really practice like hunting and use their wings and just kind of like actually bloom into proper dragons. And that has been really fun to see. And it's just like a very, very interesting series that I am very deeply loving. So yeah, basically just I give this one 5 stars. I don't even know what else to say about it. Like there was definitely some reveals that came that were crazy. Really interesting character relationships being built towards. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say aside from we're just making great progress towards like a lot of things happening and it makes me so excited. I have started City of Dragons and I am so happy with this one. I did read the last 2 like kind of a mix of physically and on audio. And then this one has to be 100% audio, unfortunately, because I can't really find a copy of the physical book like at the library, at Libby, anywhere. I could buy it, I just don't want to. So we are mostly just doing audio. And the first 2 books in this series had really been this journey of these dragons and getting them to this one point. We are now at that point. And now it is more of let us catch up on everything that happened in the broader world over the last like almost year while this journey took place. And now let's see what the ramifications of getting to this one place are. Let's see the broader world deal with this. Let's see how the world is also dealing with the fact that the dragons are becoming self-sufficient and actual like dragony beasts. Basically, I am incredibly invested in this one again. I am so incredibly into these characters and I so deeply cannot wait to see what happens for them. Like this has been one I have been listening to at work and I'm like tonight even debating like should I go for like a crazy long walk and do nothing but listen to this audiobook because I am so intensely invested and that's all I want to do right now. I'm also very much someone who has to have like an activity going while I listen to an audiobook because otherwise like it doesn't work. But seeing where these characters are going and seeing some things that I think will happen, just it is getting me so excited. I am so excited about the discoveries we're making. I'm so excited about the magic. I'm so excited to see what happens and I'm like so deeply invested in this book already. So I kind of hate the fact that I'm reading this via audio. I mean, the audiobook narrations are fantastic for all of Robin Hobb's books, but I kind of hate it because I do find that I really like, I need to be doing something as I listen to an audiobook, and I like have been really trying to carve my days around like making time specifically so I can listen, but it's hard to like dedicate like 3-hour blocks at a time of stuff where I can just listen. So that has been like my struggle because all I want to do is listen to this book. All I want to do is listen to this book, and I am getting very close to the end, and action is picking up. Things are getting kind of crazy. There was this insane scene of like just pure stress, and all I want to do is just intensely read. I'm like actually wondering, it's also been like, this is a completely side complaint, but my headphones seem to not go loud enough when I'm walking outside, so I struggle to listen while I'm out on a walk. And I think it's just I have something that like minimizes the noise when there's noise around, so you can hear things. I need to figure out how to fix that, because all I want to do is go for a very long walk today and finish this book. I'm done City of Dragons. It's 5 stars. I don't think that anybody should be surprised at this. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. Really liked the grander world that we saw in this one, i.e. books 1 and 2 were very focused on these specific characters and this one specific area. Book 3, we really expanded and got to see a lot more things, got to see throwbacks to characters from other books, and got to see basically how the world at whole is addressing these things that happened. Loved it. 5 stars. I don't think I have anything more to say other than this was fantastic, and I'm shocked a lot of people don't like this series as much. Yeah, and now I'm gonna go into book 4, which again, I am so ridiculously excited about. So I honestly can't remember where I left off in my last update for this book, but let's just say I am now done, and I am of course giving this one a 5 star. Again, 4th book in a series. I'm not going to talk too much about it. We're not going to dive too many details into what's going on, but this was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed this world, and honestly, like every single thought that I want to bring up is just going to be echoing something I've already mentioned, so it's not necessarily going to be the most exciting in that sense. But this was great. I really love this world. I really love these characters. I loved seeing this journey they went on. I loved the dragons. I loved the adventures. I loved the magic. Like, I really could just go on and on. But for the sake of time and everyone's sanity, we'll just say I loved it. And with that, we're going to be done this video, thankfully, finally. This actually took me like 4 months to film, which is insane, but typical part of my life. And overall, decent. We found some things that I enjoyed. I had no doubt that I was going to enjoy the Robin Hobb series. Tessa Hill books usually tend to be a hit for me, and I'm like never disappointed to continue on in them. But yeah, overall, we did pretty decent. We, at this point, the time this was going up, everything in my life is a mess. HRCYED 2.0, kind of done. I don't know what I'm doing with my content. You'll see at some point. This will be edited. We're gonna figure life out. I don't know how the rest of these videos are gonna go. We'll see. Anyways, just with that, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and hopefully I'll see you in a video very, very soon.